trying to place your accent. I'm going to ask you where you're from, but don't tell me. I'm going to guess. South West England? Are you from like Devon and Cornwall area?
Yeah.
Really?
No, not quite that far down.
Whereabouts?
Bristol.
Bristol? You grew up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to university there?
As well.
What did you study?
Accountancy and finance.
Really?
Which is quite weird because I didn't follow that route.
Yeah, I know. So obviously, how did you get into teaching from there? Did you work in?
I did Erasmus, basically, which is weird. Well, the course I did, they had an exchange program with a school in Holland, and it was the exact same program. So you didn't need to know Dutch. All the Dutch students that were there were following the same course, the syllabus from UWE, where I went.
And they were following it in English?
And yeah, so I could go there and continue studying, but have an Erasmus kind of experience. So and when I went there, then I met loads of people, and then when I finished university, just wanted to keep travelling. So
you got the travel bug?
So I got the travel bug from that, and then essentially just decided how can I move around. I think I met someone at a party and we were talking about what we did, and I remember saying I work in a bank and I'm bored, and they said, you know, I'm a TEFL teacher, I live in Spain, and I was like, wow, you know. And when I found out, then about a year later I'd done the course and I came away.
How old were you then when you did the course, the teaching course?
Must have been 25, 26 maybe.
Okay.
Maybe younger actually, thinking of it.
And Spain was your first country teaching?
Barcelona was the first, yeah.
And how did you make the transition from Barcelona to Valencia?
Well, it went through Italy first.
Right.
Because I had an American girlfriend that I'd met in Barcelona, and she had spent 6 months in Italy, in Florence, before. She did a kind of split, kind of their version of Erasmus.
Was she a teacher as well?
Well, she was at university at the time. But anyway, so we moved. But she wanted to go back there because she'd finished. That was her final year at uni. Back to Italy. She liked it, and I thought, well, why not? So I wasn't particularly fond of Barcelona, to be honest. It was too big.
Why? Too big.
Too big for me. Yeah, too crazy, too hectic.
Okay.
So so I went there.
Italy.
And then, that fell through anyway, that relationship. And then at the end, after Florence, I wanted to stay in Italy, but wanted to move on from Florence. Okay, so it left a bit of a bitter taste, that relationship. So
I had a similar experience in France, but that's another story.
And then moved down to the south of Italy then.
Okay, and from Italy to Spain.
And then Italy, Spain after 4 years in Italy, yeah.
What was it like growing up in Bristol?
Great, really. Yeah, had a good childhood, I think. I was next to. I realise it now more. I think living in a city, because there were just a forest nearby, and I see the way kids play here, and they're always, you see these parks, these concrete parks in the middle of the city. But we were always able to. I took it for granted at the time, but. We were always out on our bikes, riding around, and parents never seemed to worry. They didn't care.
So Bristol's not a big city. You didn't live in the centre of a big with lots of traffic.
Well, it's not that big. It's probably comparable in size to Barcelona, I'd say. But I lived slightly on the outskirts, not far really. But there are lots of parks integrated within the city anyway. So you're always quite near a park. And there was a big kind of a big forest nearby, so we were always just playing down there, playing in the river and enjoying.
So you came to Spain after 4 years in Italy, you said?
Yeah.
You speak Italian?
Yeah. Badly now.
What's been the most difficult thing about making a life here? Because it sounds as though you're pretty settled. It's not just a transition period. Or maybe
it's just, I suppose, stopping somewhere, because you get this feeling.
Have you still got the travel bug?
It's kind of gone recently, actually. I think, again, the China thing. That was we did quite a lot in a short space of time. So at the moment, I'm feeling quite settled. I think it's because you live somewhere, you go away and you come back to it. And I'd never done that before, apart from my own sitting in Bristol for odd periods. But if I'd been to a place, I tended to just move on, and that's that experience kind of in the bag. And
so you see yourself staying here for a while, starting a family
for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Okay. What do you miss about the UK?
Standard friends and family, I guess.
They're still there.
Oddly, most of my best friends, although they did go away to university, most of them, they come back and continue working there. So, and some of them who didn't go to uni have got families and they're still there. So when I go back, then it must be, it would be a special. People make a special effort because you're not there normally. So I think if you lived there, it wouldn't be the same, But because you're back, then people make an effort to see you, and so maybe it makes it seem better than it really is.
And with the baby coming, you can expect them to be coming here a lot more often.
Yeah.
I would think, especially your family.
I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to China, can you speak a bit about your experience in China? What made you decide to go, and what it was like there? What you did there? You went for a year, didn't you?
For a year, yeah. Okay, so what made us want to go? I think I pushed the issue more than my partner at first, but then nearing the time, then she was just as eager to go as me. So I think it took a bit of pushing from me, and the reason I did it is because I guess every summer I'd normally go back to the UK to do summer school work, and you always meet people who have been all over the place, and lots of people would rave on about how different Asia is and how cool it was, how much fun they had, like difficult stories too of difficult times, but they enjoyed it.
And this was your first trip to Asia?
And this was the first time to Asia, so it was a case of just I wanted to go somewhere in Asia, and a good friend of mine had worked for the company that we ended up working for, so I just contacted them to see if there was any opportunity, and they pretty much said, yeah, we need people now. So it could have been anywhere there, but it was just feeling like it was something I needed to do, was to go and see.
Is your partner a teacher as well? Was she working there as a teacher?
Yeah.
Teaching English?
Teaching English too.
Okay.
That's how we met.
And which part of China did you go to?
It was called, the province is Guangdong province, so it's beside Hong Kong. And is
that the area that's becoming really popular in high tech? They've got lots of factories making products.
That's right.
So it's the south, sort of west, that comes down to Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, kind of comes off of it a bit. You can get to Hong Kong either through a port, which is further south from where we were living, and then that kind of a ferry goes straight across, or you can go up and around by land, and then you can get a coach to Hong Kong in sort of 5 hours or so. Right. That whole area is.
What were the things that stand out as far as things that you really liked about it, or things that you really didn't like about it?
The thing I didn't like is that we stood out
as being
Westerners. So I was warned about it.
But isn't it quite an international area, that part of China?
Well, I mean, Hong Kong would be, so people don't really stare at you that much, but it still happens a bit. But where we were, it was quite a big town. It's called Shaolan, and people there, they still weren't used to seeing foreigners, not really. You'd see occasional foreigners walk around, but most of the time, you were the only one.
So how did they react to you? Were they sort of aggressive or curious?
No, never aggressive. Always curious, always almost amused in some way.
Did they point and laugh at you?
Yeah, pointing and sort of laughter, giggling, and like sometimes they'd even shock sometimes. I remember seeing a girl, I walked into a shop and she was chewing gum, and when she saw me...
She swallowed it?
Like that, swallowed the chewing gum. I thought, don't choke, not that special.
So you had something in your teeth, or your flies were undone, or something like that?
Or they'd hide sometimes.
Really?
In shops and things, because it would just be, oh my God, I have to talk to this person, and they would assume, I'll need English now or something.
Do you speak Chinese? Because I heard you speaking Chinese in the bar around the corner. I thought, I wonder if you're sort of studying still, or...
No, I haven't kept it going, but at the time I was trying to learn. Trying to learn a fair bit.
Did you have formal lessons there?
We had a few. The school that we worked for organised classes, and I kind of had a self-study book, and it lasted for the first few months, and then after, I guess I got enough to keep going, so I didn't study anymore.
Nick, if you weren't a teacher, which profession would you choose?
It'd be in the academic field, I imagine. So, I don't know, a lecturer, but that's kind of the same, or a researcher maybe.
Do you regret not going into accountancy or finance?
Not one bit.
Why did you study it? Why did you choose it?
Because I was good at maths at A level,
yeah,
and I could have done a kind of a maths degree. I thought, I got quite good grades and it interested me, but the thought afterwards of, sort of vocationally, what can you become, an actuary or go on to do research and things like that, and at the time I just thought, well, I thought I didn't want to work really in an office, oddly. Or was it that? Or no, I think it was more because I couldn't see an actual job at the end of it.
What advice would you give Spanish speakers who are trying to learn English? What do you tell your students to do?
Well, lots of things, but in terms of, just use the language, I guess. Would be go out and, make mistakes when you meet people and try not to worry too much that you've done that. And then, maybe think after the experience, hey, I managed to practice today. That's good. And sometimes it's not how much you do at home. Well, sometimes it's not how much you study at home. It's how much you can just get done with the language. And the more you can get done with it, you should definitely go to a cultural exchange and speak like that. That would be number one.
Like an intercambio, language exchange program.
Yeah, because you just learn it as a product in a classroom or at home, and if you can see there's some actual practical use, and then you actually exchange, words with people, and I think you come to see that what you've been learning actually you're able to use in the right case, and just get out and practice.
Get out and practice. What do you do with your free time when you're not working?
Go cycling quite a lot at the moment, yeah.
In town, or do you go to the mountains?
I do big circuits around the outskirts, really.
Okay.
So I've bought a racing bike, recently a road bike. And just try to pick a new route every time and try to go off. Started off, quite short routes, but now they're getting longer and longer each time.
The Quickfire Hot Seat.
Okay, this is the Quickfire Hot Seat round. I'll just ask you several questions quickly and tell me what you think. What makes you happy?
Makes me happy? Small things, often. Simple things. Winning a game on my iPad. Small successes.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It doesn't take very much to make me happy, to be honest.
What makes you sad?
What makes me sad? If I don't meet what I think is what I think should be a goal I can reach. Okay, in that regard, I get quite frustrated if something doesn't go as I've planned. Maybe that's more frustration than sadness, actually.
But you mean it doesn't go as you planned because
I'm a perfectionist who controls everything.
Because what you've done? So it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
It's not because of outside circumstances. It's.
I think
Can you give an example?
I think I set unreasonably high expectations for other people sometimes. So if, for example, I don't know, I've said, right, let's meet, and someone says, oh, I'll call you, and then they don't do it, then that'll make me frustrated, but then it'll make me sad afterwards, because I'll think, well, why can't, if someone said they'll call me, why can't they call? Or at least call later or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nick, What one thing, if you were to tell someone about yourself, would they find it difficult to believe?
I don't know, maybe part of what I said. I think from the exterior I'm probably quite a chirpy guy, but I do get incredibly like frustrated sometimes and have like occasional bouts of ranting. It's like things like I'll come along on my bike and I'll think, well, it's a zebra crossing, okay, so it's my place to cross, but no one cares about that. They just sort of keep driving. And that moment I go from wanting to stick the finger up like to the person in the car or just shout some random swear word at them. And probably it's stupid because it could turn out to be a right nutter someday. You know?
Well, the good thing is I think you're safer doing it here than you would be in the UK. So
Yeah. That's the thing, because I wouldn't do it there, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't. I'd put my head down,
you wouldn't
keep
risk
going.
it. You just risk it. You wouldn't risk it, would you?
No, but I know exactly what you mean. Which famous person, dead or alive, would you like to have a drink or have dinner with?
Okay, I will admit I remember that question from before because I had to have a good think about it. But it would be a philosopher of some description, one of them, right, and probably one from antiquity. So probably Marcus Aurelius or Seneca.
That's interesting because you haven't studied philosophy, as far as I know.
No, just
formally,
a hobby.
Okay.
Thing.
A philosopher. Mm-hmm. In an ideal world, what would your life be like, apart from people stopping at zebra crossings?
Mm-hmm. Right, in an ideal life, okay, well, there'd be a few things that would change. Because another hobby is DJing.
Really?
But I never get around to going and trying to get a gig anywhere. But if I see it as a really difficult thing to do because you've got to know the right people, and then there's this language barrier, and then there's the pressure of setting it all up and being on, getting it all ready, getting all the stuff, getting the set lists and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So an ideal thing would be to have a slot somewhere every week doing that. I'd love that.
Would you like to do it live or on the radio?
Live in a club.
In a club. Mm. Have you ever done anything?
In England a few times.
In Bristol?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like friends' parties and stuff, but never.
Have you got all the gear at home? You got the equipment?
Yeah, I've got the gear.
Okay. If you could, I think I know the answer to this. If you could change something about your character, what would you change?
My short fuse.
Have you got bad temper?
Yeah, I got quite a bad temper actually. Yeah.
Okay. What sort of things wind you up?
This is the conclusion I've come to, and probably why I would want Seneca or Marcus Aurelius around a table is because they had quite good ideas on how to manage frustration sometimes, and essentially, it's just basically getting frustrated by things beyond your
control.
Beyond your control. Mm-hmm. If you write a list of everything you can control, probably the only thing you can is what you're like. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that you can. But yet, even though you know that, you still continue to get frustrated, say, if I get a drop of water on the floor in the kitchen. And it's like, in my ideal world, that shouldn't happen. I live in a world where drops of water don't hit floors. And so...
If you had €6,000 to spend on yourself, mm-hmm. what would you buy?
Probably a really good racing bike.
You said you bought one recently.
I did. It's good enough for now, but I've seen some of these ones for like it was second hand, so it's a couple of €100. Mm-hmm. But the one I saw the other day looked amazing. It's like $1,500, and it's all carbon fibre, and
lift it up with one finger.
You lift it with exactly. So that would be nice. Mm-hmm. And if you'd asked me this a year and a half ago, I'd have said go around the world probably, but right now,
the baby
the baby due in 2 weeks, it's not really the priority anymore.
Yeah, so there'll be things for the baby and things for the home.
Yeah, really. I mean, is it bad that I'm not thinking of spending it on the baby at all?
It's a good thing. That's a positive thing.
We've already got some money aside for that. I want it for me.
Nick, thank you very much.
You're welcome. when I finished university, just wanted to keep travelling. So
you got the travel bug.
So I got the travel bug from that. Yeah, so I went there.
Italy.
And then, yeah, well, that fell through anyway, that relationship. And then so I wasn't particularly fond of Barcelona, to be honest. It was too